I thought that maybe I was killed by that lightning. I'd assumed I was still Miyoko Tanashi. But maybe I wasn't her at all. I seriously considered those things. Then I started to think that the telephone booth had something to do with it. Because God led me there. He couldn't have done so just because he was providing shelter from the rain. There had to be something else. I wondered what it was. Could there be something in the booth that could save me? But what? A telephone booth is used to make a phone call. But I didn't have any money. But then, I noticed something that looked like a copper. My heart skipped a beat. The 10-yen coin I saw wasn't there before. Did I just miss it? I didn't think so. It must have just showed up. In other words, this 10-yen coin was guidance from God. He was telling me to make a call with that coin. But who? There was no telephone book. In that case, I could only call a number I knew. Did God want me to do that then? There was only one coin. I could only call one number, and I couldn't talk for that long. I had challenged God earlier, so it was just a matter of course to think that God was challenging me in return. I had only one chance, and he wanted me to test my luck with that chance. I left the phone book and looked up at the sky. Then I yelled in my heart, "You're on, God." I wondered who I could call. Who? My house? My parents were dead, and I had no relatives. Even if I called, nobody would answer. Actually, the phone bill wouldn't have been paid for a long time, so the phone line would already be disconnected. My house was my lost life itself. No, the debris of my life. Calling home would simply be an expression of regret, which ran counter to the positive attitude of one trying to change their life. So surely, using the coin to call my house was wrong, which meant I had to cast this 10-yen coin towards my future. My future. What future anyway? Then I heard a huge thunderclap which cleared my mind. In that clear state of mind I saw something from the past. It was the last sight of my father, his final moments on the hospital bed. Though suffering through pain, he tried to tell me something very important. If by chance I am to die, turn to Dr. Takano. Dr. Takano... Dr. Hifumi Takano. Say it for me. Hifumi Takano. That's right, Dr. Hifumi Takano. He's my former teacher. He will help you. Cough. 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 Daddy. Many doctors came to the room in a hurry. He wanted to tell me something else, but the doctor stopped him from talking, so it wasn't audible. It shouldn't have been, but it was to me. I heard it, but I didn't want to hear him say it while suffering, so I pretended that I didn't hear. He said it while coughing. I heard it. They were numbers. I swallowed once. That's right. It was a phone number. He knew nobody would take me in because we had no relatives. He told me to get in touch with him, Dr. Hifumi Takano. He tried to tell me his phone number. What had I done? He tried so hard using his last chance to tell me the most important thing. Again, if it was that important, you should have taken care of it, ahead of time. The thunder from earlier had made me remember it. The number I couldn't remember even once came out so smoothly. I dialed it in. This really was it. This was the number for my father's teacher, Dr. Takano. But my hand stopped just as I tried to put the coin in. What if I hadn't remembered it correctly? No, there was no need to hesitate. I had to believe in myself. This had to be the correct number. I had to dial it before I forgot it again. I picked up the phone and put the coin in. Beep! I heard the dial tone on the other end. At that point, I decided to kill myself if it didn't work. I could go back into the woods and wait for another lightning bolt. I could lie down and let the rainwater drown me too. I could also fall asleep in the middle of the road and wait for a car to run me over. I made up my mind and put the coin in. I didn't hesitate any longer. I dialed the number at once. But I had to be careful. If you dial too quickly, sometimes you can make mistakes. I was getting irritated, and that almost made the phone number go vague in my head. I dialed the last digit and heard some electronic sounds on the other hand. And I hoped that I dialed the correct number. I didn't know what to say to Dr. Takano if it did connect. Where was I? What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to ask him? I didn't know any of those things. Making a call isn't cheap. 110 yen coin would only buy me a short time to talk. The line must have connected then. I heard a ringtone. I only had a short time once someone answered the phone. I thought for a moment that I should put the phone down. Then I could at least get the coin back. I could call back after sorting out my thoughts. But then someone answered. Hello, this is the Takano residence. Ah. I felt like I was suffocating. My memory had been correct. I couldn't tell the age of the speaker, but it was a grown man's voice. Anyone who was my father's teacher must have been quite old. Never mind that. I had to hurry and say something. Hurry, hurry. Are you Dr. Takano? Dr. Hifumi Takano? Yes, who is this? He must have been suspicious. I couldn't blame him. A stranger was asking about his name. Of course he'd get suspicious. I'm sorry, I'm Tanashi. Miyoko. Tanashi? Tanashi-san. Yes. My father told me to get in touch with you. His name is Takamitsu Tanashi. Tanashi. Ah, Tanashi-kun. I remember him. His voice suddenly changed. Dr. Takano had remembered his old students. I'm his daughter. He told me to call you. Did something happen to Tanashi-kun? Not good. I was going to run out of time. My parents died in a train accident, and I was told to call you. Tanashi-kun is dead? I see. Both of them. I'm sorry to hear that. I knew him from when I was teaching at college. He was a very hard-working young man. I think the last time I saw him was at the wedding. Obviously, he didn't know I was born. But he remembered my father. That was truly a stroke of luck. And what did Tanashi-kun want to tell me? Well, I didn't know what to say. I was only told to call Dr. Takano. How could I tell him that? My time was running out. I felt more and more anxious by the minute. Phone calls are disconnected without notice, but somehow I sensed it. I only had enough time left for one sentence, so I decided to say one sentence. Filled with all of my hopes. Help! Me. The phone call got disconnected. Maybe he only heard part of what I said. I could only hope he was able to sense my despair. I couldn't hear anything from the receiver anymore, but I actually talked to Dr. Takano. I confirmed that Dr. Takano existed. He existed and he remembered my father. If he grieved over his student's death, he would come visit my house, and he would find out I was sent to an orphanage. Then he would come to get me. That's when tears flowed down my cheeks again. I had thought that my life was hopeless. I never knew that finding even a grain of hope could make me feel so happy and strong. The voice I heard on the phone was so warm and dependable. My father must have thought about me for a long time in that hospital bed, and came up with a name that he could trust his daughter with. Dr. Hifumi Takano, so I could trust Dr. Takano. I had to believe that he would find me, but it might take more than just a few days. I'd have to wait patiently. A few days, a month, more? I could only wait patiently. Either way, I couldn't stay in the telephone box. The staff would easily find me there. I went out into the rain again, but this time the rain felt a little warmer than before. I had wished to die by lightning. But after that phone call, I was filled with hope and the will to live. I wanted to live, and that was why I felt pain all over my body. When I still wished to die, I didn't feel anything. I had to wait patiently until Dr. Takano came to pick me up. I had to get to the House of Love and Mercy. That would be the best place to wait for him. I didn't think the orphanage would tell him I escaped the House of Love and Mercy, but the house wouldn't stop me from calling him. All I have to do is call him again, and let him know where I was. But I didn't know where I could find the House of Love and Mercy. I couldn't see any signs anywhere, and I didn't even know what direction the orphanage I escaped from was in. But I couldn't just stop. I had to walk. I had to find shelter. I had to find someone to ask for directions to the House of Love and Mercy. I had to keep going because I finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel. The chills and throbbing pain tormented me, but I couldn't die until I met Takano-sensei. I wished a car would come by. If it was someone who lived in the area, I could ask, but the police wouldn't do me any good. I was sure the orphanage had already called the police about our escape, and they wouldn't be forgiving. The police were sure to send me back to the orphanage. Either way, I wished someone would show up. Otherwise, I'd have to keep walking on the asphalt in the darkness forever. How long did I walk? Still no car. Just as I couldn't help but think that maybe the world perished, leaving only me behind, a car showed up. I sensed the car coming up behind me, so I turned around and I saw their headlights approaching me. I thought for a moment, should I stand in the middle of the street to stop the car? It was so dark, I didn't think the car would notice if I just waved at it, but if I were to stand in the middle of the street, I could get run over. While I thought, the car was getting closer and closer. When I made the phone call, I panicked and didn't know what to say. So with this car, I'd have to think very carefully. If I couldn't think of anything, then I should just let the car go. With those thoughts vaguely on my mind, I was incredibly surprised when the car slammed on the brakes with a screech and came to a stop. Maybe I wasn't all there after the miraculous experience of lightning striking near me. I had half lost my mind in those dark woods, so I probably wasn't thinking very straight because the car had stopped after recognizing me. In other words, the driver knew who I was, and the only people in the area who had recognized me were... Suddenly, the chill ran through my whole body. I started to dash away. I heard a voice calling after me. I no longer had the strength to run. My feet were trembling, and I couldn't make them cooperate. I realized then that I shouldn't have sat down in the telephone booth. That was why I couldn't keep running. I was suddenly grabbed from behind, the collar of my clothes almost choking me. I heard fabric being ripped. I fell in a puddle and a staff member got on top of me. This time his finger wasn't in my mouth. All I could do was struggle. As I did so, I remembered all the scary stories Eriko and the others told me, all the tortures the child who was caught had to endure. The drowned duck punishment, the squished caterpillar punishment, and the splayed piggy punishment. The names of those eerie-sounding punishments came to my mind. I screamed and struggled with all my might, but it was too late. I was shoved into the back seat of the car. Why couldn't they just let me go? Simple, they didn't want me talking about them to anybody. The staff were yelling and screaming while chasing me, but once we were in the car, they were silent. It was like the Grim Reaper had come to get me. Whether I liked it or not, I had to come to terms with the fact that my luck had run out. But, I had called Takano-sensei, so I knew he would come to get me. I didn't know when that would be, but I knew it would happen someday, so I wanted to live. I would be saved if I lived. I couldn't even imagine the kind of punishment that was waiting for me, but even so I said to myself, I have to live. I had already found the light at the end of the tunnel. All I had to do was endure until I reached it. The car stopped. We had arrived at the front gate of the orphanage. The two staff members grabbed my shoulders so I wouldn't run. My shoulders were very skinny, so it hurt a lot. I was scared of what I would have to go through. We went through the door and I was finally sheltered from the rain. In a way, I wasn't sheltered at all, though. It was the middle of the night and long past time to turn lights off. The orphanage should have been quiet. But I heard a noise. It was a strange noise. The noise of a shower. The noise of metal objects crashing into each other. Also the staff's yelling and screaming. A chill went down my spine. What could I possibly write down to fully describe this fear? A staff member knocked on the door of the storage room, and the door opened. The moment it did, an angry roar issued from inside. The sight leapt into my eyes. I couldn't completely take in the bizarre scene before me. Two staff members were hitting a mat with bamboo swords while yelling violently. It was a mat used in, the one you use when you do gymnastics? But why was it rolled up like that? The rolled up mat was tied with a string and was standing up in the corner. The staff members kept hitting it. Usually words are said to a person, but why were they yelling at a rolled up mat? The way they were hitting and yelling at it, it was if they had gone mad. But wait, I could see something sticking out from the top of the rolled up mat. It was, let me see, whose shoes were those? All of a sudden I froze and couldn't think anymore. One man stood in front of me. The man's pinky finger was wrapped in bandages. My eyes moved upwards from his pinky finger and met with his. The beast's eyes met mine, peering with intent to devour me. I squeezed out a voiceless scream. My voice didn't come out, so it was more like a goldfish opening and closing its mouth. The beast stuck his little finger in front of me and roared. I couldn't tell if it was a word or a meaningless shriek, but I was certain it was something abusive. I was scared. I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. I knew that Dr. Takano would show up to save me. That was why I had to live and submit myself to the fear. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The hand with the bandages grabbed my hair and dragged me along. All I could do was apologize and beg for forgiveness, while hoping the beast had even a tiny bit of mercy in him. I was like a broken, apologizing doll. A mad doll that kept muttering apologies until its key wound down. I was their toy, shedding tears, coughing blood, and apologizing in place of clicking gears. I could see into the shower room while he dragged me along. The door was open and I heard wailing from the inside. What I saw was very strange. There was a locker on its side in the shower. What an odd sight. A locker was taking a shower, sideways. I'd never even imagined anything like it before. The locker was taking a cold shower while two staff members hit it with bamboo sticks. That explained the metallic noise I heard before. The beast didn't want me to see that. He pulled my hair violently and twisted my neck, so I looked in the opposite direction. Then I realized he didn't do that to stop me from watching the shower. He did it to make me look at something else. I saw a window and a courtyard. Usually it was too dark to see anything, but the lights were on and the courtyard was very bright. Then I saw it. Inside of the hen house, I saw... What is that? That hair was Eriko's. But why was she... That was far too... Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to die. I know Dr. Kano is coming to save me. I know he is coming. I was taken to the staff bathroom. It stunk of ammonia. I saw one which just doesn't fit in a bathroom. Why was this in the bathroom, I thought. He's not planning to me with the... Is he? No way. No. Tanashi, this is your punishment for breaking the rules, okay? Everyone must follow the rules. If you don't, you get punished. You understand? I'm sorry. I'll never do it again. I'll do everything you tell me to do. I promise. I really do. Please spare me. Please spare me from... No, that hurts. No. You know, I'm perfectly sure this won't lead to long-lasting psychological trauma that may, influence Mio to perhaps not be the greatest of people. Another chance. Hey, Lightning experienced a memory of punishment. Sniffle. Sniffle. How long have I been crying? I don't even know how long I've been comforted like this. My grandfather's hand is on my cheek to comfort me. I'm holding his hand lovingly. and pressing my cheek against it. "Are you okay? Grandpa?" Sniffle. My grandfather put his other hand on my head. The warmth of his palms gradually calmed me down. Piles of documents were all around me. It was a mistake to sort through data while lying on a fluffy carpet. I must have fallen asleep and had a terrible dream. If you sleep facing down, the pressure on your chest makes it easier to have nightmares. It's getting quite late. Why don't you go to sleep, Miyoko? I'm fine. I took a nap, so I'm not sleepy anymore. I'm almost done, so I'm going to finish up, okay? You have school tomorrow. You should go to sleep, otherwise you'll get scolded for yawning again. I've been going to bed late recently. Because of that, I yawn a lot at school. My teacher must have written a note to my grandfather. I'm fine. I'll go to sleep as soon as I'm done. So please let me finish, okay? Besides, you shouldn't mind me. Go back to your study and continue with your article. The day for him to present his findings is approaching. He's been working so hard devoting himself to his research. But there's unfortunately a limit to what an individual can do. He needs a collaborator in order to go further with his research. He has to explain that his investigation could be the key to solving the mysteries of human behavior and make people understand just how important his work is. But as this research is about a very complicated subject, so he couldn't seek assistance from just anyone. Someone will be able to help him one day. Believing that, my grandfather earnestly continued his research. I want to help him more, but all I can do is sort through his data and tidy up his materials. I also assist him around the house so he can concentrate more on his research. He always tells me how helpful I am. But that isn't enough for me. I will study hard, get into a good college, and learn many things, so I can actually be of assistance to his research. I am a mediocre student right now, and I don't particularly like school, but I will do it. I want to help my grandfather. If his heart were to fail and he couldn't continue his research, I wouldn't hesitate to cut open my chest. And offer my heart up for him. If he needs lungs, I'll give him my lungs. If any of his organs fail, I'll give him mine. There's nothing strange about those feelings. They're perfectly normal ones. For if he had found me even a day later, I might not have been alive. Or even if I lived, it would either be without my body intact, or if my mind lost to me. In other words, I'm alive because my grandfather came to save me. If he hadn't rushed to find me, I wouldn't be here, so I won't hesitate to give up my life for him. Moreover, I'd be more than happy to do that. Even though I want to be with him forever, human lives aren't immortal. Just like how my parents died, it happens so suddenly, without any warning. I will never heal from my parents' deaths, but now that I have my grandfather, I'm not sad. However, his existence isn't eternal either. He may disappear all of a sudden for any unexpected reason. Just like my parents, that's why I wish to be a part of him. That's why, no matter what happens, we will be together forever. I don't want to be alone ever again. I want to be with my grandfather forever. I want to help him forever. Okay, then be sure to go to sleep after you finish this, okay? Promise? Yep, I promise. We pinky promised after that. We smiled at each other and my grandfather went back to his study. The dried up tears are making my cheeks itch. I headed to the bathroom to wash my face and brush my teeth. I looked at my face in the mirror. None of my grandfather's features are recognizable on my face. Of course they aren't. We're not related. He must have a family too, but I've never heard about them. He doesn't seem to want to talk about that subject, so I don't ever ask him about it. I don't care if he has real grandchildren or not. Even if I'm not related to him, I'm a granddaughter of Hifumi Takano. I'm not just a granddaughter either. I want to be more than that. I don't want a parent and child relationship, nor a lover's relationship, nothing like that. I want something more absolute that binds our souls, something that not even a tragedy can destroy. I am Miyoko Takano, Hifumi Takano's granddaughter. Maybe it should be Mio instead. That way that's what my grandfather sometimes calls me. I want to succeed Hifumi's spirit. Since his name counts from 1 to 3, I want us to share that 3 and be forward the 4th in his line. Today, my name changes. I wrote that new name in the mirror. Mio Takano. What a wonderful name for the new me. Colonel. Sir. Good to see you again. Takano-kun, come on, no more Colonel stuff. No. I was worried when I heard you were ill. You sure look great now. Wahahaha. My grandfather always told me he doesn't have any friends. He used to tell me everyone died in the war, but that's not true. He has one very close friend. This is him, and he's an elderly man my grandfather calls Colonel Koizumi. I don't know exactly where they met, but every time they get together, all they talk about is the military and the war, so I guess that's where they met. Look at you, Mio-chan! How tall are you now? We just had a physical checkup the other day, and I think I've grown 2 centimeters. That's wonderful. Good girl! Make sure you eat well, play a lot, and grow big and healthy. I envy you, Takano-kun, for having such a cute granddaughter. Mr. Koizumi knows that my grandfather and I aren't related, but he always calls me his granddaughter. That makes me very happy, so I poured a little more black tea in his cup. After I finished serving tea, I left with a bow. I want to stay and listen to them talk, but I guess my grandfather doesn't want me to hear the stories of the war, so he always makes me leave. I left before I was told to, but having to leave doesn't mean I need to go to a different room. I just headed to the other side of this huge living room instead. Although I'm not right by them, I can still sit on a sofa and listen to their conversation, and if they need something, I can come help them right away. I try to earn points that way to prove I'm useful. I sat on a sofa away from them and started reading an encyclopedia. While doing that, I tried to listen to their conversation. That's great. The professor said that they want to come over on Sunday the week after that. Next. Really? Thank you very much, Koizumi-san. Don't mention it. This just means that the report you wrote was that interesting to Takano-kun. They're showing a lot of interest. They even said it's possible that this research could receive the Nobel Prize. A Nobel Prize? Haha, that sounds wonderful. My grandfather laughed. Since he laughed so cheerfully, something great must have happened. Mr. Koizumi must have showed the society the essay my grandfather was about to announce and gauge their reactions. And supposedly they find it extremely interesting. That means they recognized the value of my grandfather's research. That makes me happy too. But what worries me is that you'll get infected with the syndrome yourself. Make sure you don't end up clawing out your own throat, okay? Well, maybe I'm already infected. But Hinamizawa syndrome is harmless if you live a normal life. It was a dangerous disease back when the villagers believed Oyoshiro-sama and bound themselves with strict rules. But those have faded over time, and now people rarely show symptoms unless something major happens. After that many cases, a patient's emotional state has a lot to do with how the syndrome develops. As long as you live a normal life, there's nothing to worry about. So when one is under a lot of pressure, like during the war, the disease gets worse. That's right. Well, There is nothing to worry about. The subjective symptoms of the initial stages is a paranoia akin to that in depression. Once you notice it happening, you can teach yourself to relax emotionally and physically by using my breathing method. What, are we like going in the direction of cognitive behavior therapy? And you should also get at least 9 hours of sleep a night over a 1-week period. How much sleep do you guys get? What's normal for all of you? That's how you prevent it from worsening. In fact, of all the Hinamizawan soldiers out of my direction, not even one died mysteriously. As he talks, grandfather started demonstrating the Takano breathing method and a bizarre exercise technique. According to him, this technique relaxes the body and lets blood flow, and the lymphatic fluid flow smoothly. As a result, you relax emotionally too. But the movements involved in this technique are so weird. I had to look away because my grandfather looked silly. That was one thing about his research that I felt bad about. Oh, grandfather asked me to do this exercise too. I don't want to make him sad, so I do it when instructed. I'm glad to hear that. Hideo Noguchi died in the middle of his research, so please be careful, okay? However, Noguchi's sensei's great work is still acknowledged even after his death. As a researcher, I'm sure that was his long-term goal. Grandfather tells me about Hideo Noguchi often. He was born as the son of a poor farmer, but he studied hard and became a doctor. However, he was mistreated because of his background, so he left Japan. He moved to the United States. There, he made many accomplishments. As a researcher, he discovered a vaccine for yellow fever. Grandfather's background is somewhat similar to his, so he often said that of all the researchers, he admired him the most. Died in North Africa. While he discovered the vaccine for yellow fever, he heard it wasn't effective on yellow fever in North Africa. He went there to research it, came down with the disease, and died. A researcher losing his life for his research. Sometimes that is a test of a researcher's courage. In that sense, grandfather is very brave to visit Hinamizawa himself to gather information. He himself says he may already be infected, although my grandfather estimates from ancient texts that the Hinamizawa syndrome was only a menace centuries ago, and now it's no different from the usual bacteria that share a symbiosis with humans. Many people became ill with the disease during the war, but that was because they were in an extremely abnormal situation. In today's peaceful environment, it's almost impossible for a person to develop symptoms. He sounds very optimistic, but he's never brought me with them to Hinamizawa, so maybe he isn't as optimistic as all that. However, since I live with him, there is a possibility that I'm already infected as well, but I'm not worried at all. That's because my grandfather has taught me that as long as I maintain myself physically and emotionally, I won't develop any symptoms. I know all about the horrible terminal symptoms of the Hinamizawa syndrome, but I'm not overly fearful of them. Grandfather is enjoying his conversation with Mr. Koizumi. That's understandable. Mr. Koizumi told him some people showed great interest in his report. They even want to come over on Sunday, the week after next, to meet and talk to him directly. With the rapid advance of modern medicine, unexplored frontiers are steadily dwindling. Was it possible that Hinamizawa syndrome, which my grandfather's discovered, might be a new continent in the field? It'll be decided in 2 weeks. It sounds like there will be more than one person coming, and it also sounds like they're all important people in this society. They're all rich and famous, yet they aren't satisfied with just that. They all want to be involved with something that's worth an international award. This is a chance to gain assistance and sponsorship at the same time. I'll see you in 2 weeks. I'll make sure to be here. Good luck. Thank you very much. I owe you everything. Ha 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 ha. It's too early to say that. Let's wait until you find some sponsors. When that time comes, let's have a toast with that treasured wine of yours. That was the last of their conversation. My grandfather kept his head bowed until Mr. Koizumi was gone. It sounded like he set up this great chance for my grandfather, so I bowed my head just like him. Did you hear that? Finally, there's a chance for me. There are people who are interested in my report. I know, I heard. Now you'll have people to fund you, and people to help with your research. Well, that's not set in stone yet. Ha ha. Although he didn't want to admit it, he had a good feeling about it. The research he had conducted all alone was finally about to gain recognition. Sunday, the week after next. Quite. I'll be busy. Their first impression depends on my presentation. I have to rearrange my data. No, I probably should practice explaining things in front of people. Anyway, I have to make sure I don't forget anything. Boy, it'll be a lot of work to rearrange your data. Your handwriting is bad, so maybe you should write bigger? Anyway, I'll be busy. The next 2 weeks will go by fast. You're right. I'll help you too. All the formalin jars have to be dusted. Also, we'll need to straighten the curve on your rolled-up documents. Do you think leaving them laid out under the rug overnight would fix it? We have plenty of things to do. Mio, could you help me? Of course. I'll skip school for it. No, you can't miss school. We laughed together, thrust our fists into the air, and motivated ourselves to work hard toward the week after next. Since that day, my grandfather spent more time in his study. It's not easy to create a report that you're going to show other people. Copying machines hadn't been invented back then, so everything had to be handwritten. He knows it's somewhere, but he just can't remember where he put the data he needs. As for me, I have to make sure I have enough guest cups to serve tea, so I'm counting them. Do I have enough tea leaves? Maybe I should get something to go with tea. My grandfather knows nothing about these things. There's a whole list of chores to do. I need to clean the windows so the room will be bright. What else? The 2 weeks pass quickly while we busy ourselves getting things done. What a wonderful 2 weeks it is. I can finally feel that I'm actually doing something to help my grandfather with his research. I hope the day of the meeting will be a memorable one for my grandfather. I hope that day will be a beautiful and clear one. Just as I wished, the day is beautiful. Evening. My grandfather, having dressed formally, paced around his study nervously. I'm also in a beautiful dress. I've only worn it once before at my piano recital. But I'm not nervous like my grandfather. His silly nervousness actually relaxes me. Are they here yet? Grandfather looked out of the window. Then a black car stopped in front of the gate. Back then, a car was a luxury item. I don't think I had even one classmate whose family owned a car, so it only makes sense that the men coming out of the car looked respectable. Grandfather and I ran out to welcome them. Welcome! I'm Takano. Thank you for coming today. May I take your jacket? I greeted them and filled the role we decided ahead of time, though my being relaxed by my grandfather's silliness ended at that point. Both my grandfather and I were stiff with anxiety as we greeted them. Now the moment was here. Nice to meet you, Doctor. And hello, young lady. Are you his granddaughter? Yes. Mio, please, say hello. Very nice to meet you. I'm Mio Takano. What a good girl. I'm here in place of Koizumi-sensei. Something came up and he can't make it today. He's very sorry. I see. I'm sorry to hear that. The person who set up everything isn't here. My grandfather even had his treasured wine ready, just as they promised 2 weeks ago. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is Dr. Hifumi Takano. Dr. Takano was a leading member of the Research Center for the Prevention of Epidemics in Manchuria during the war. He made many advances in developing synthetic food and synthetic alcohol as measures against the malnutrition and ration shortages. Nice to meet you. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for having me. The men are even older than my grandfather. They take off their hats one at a time to greet him. Their beards, expensive-looking canes, and glasses tell me they are very high up in society. Grandfather bows to each one of them. Everyone, please, come into the study. Please, excuse the mess. Come in. Mio, serve tea for everyone. Yes. I wasn't nervous at all earlier, but now I think I'm the most nervous one. I'm not the one that's making the presentation, and I'm not the one being evaluated, so it's ridiculous that I'm feeling so nervous. I don't know if I should use that as my excuse, but I was so nervous that I knocked over the thermos I had filled to the brim with hot water and ruined the black tea I'd chosen specifically for this day. I apologized to my grandfather and started to boil water again. I just needed enough for the guests. By the time I had cups of tea and cookies ready, my grandfather's presentation was at its key part. It pierces the blood or lymph vessels and spreads to the spinal cord. And from there it travels along the cerebrospinal fluid to the brain. I've confirmed many cases of encephalitis after autopsies. By the way, I have actually had meningitis and encephalitis. I had swelling of the brain and swelling of the spinal cord. I spent 3 days in the ICU getting pumped full of chemicals to prevent me from dying. I also had a spinal tap. That fucking sucked. Also, I didn't find out till a couple years after that event that the reason, what had occurred to put me in the hospital in that situation, up to that point I thought had been a mystery. Turns out that was also my ex-wife. So yay! I have no idea how to fucking say this. I know how to say meningitis, but I don't go encephalitis? Basically swelling of the brain and swelling of the spinal cord. Like I said, I spent 3 days getting pumped full of chemicals so I wouldn't die. It was not pleasant. Spent 3 days laying in a fucking hospital bed in the ICU. That was, 8, 9 years ago or something? I don't know. Is known to be caused by roundworm, and we predict this behavior to be extremely similar. Grandfather said, walking between samples in the formalin jars and pointing to several as he gave his explanation. There are over 100 formalin jars in here with parts of brains in them. They were all very dusty, so I spent a few days cleaning them. I am rather proud to see the sparkling jars all lined up like this. However, roundworms induce an extremely wide range of symptoms. A headache, narcosis, derangement, none of those are characteristic symptoms of roundworms. On the other hand, symptoms of Higurashi syndrome are very specific to that disease. You're saying one of them is to claw at one's throat, yes? Exactly. Some soldiers witnessed it just before their fellows died. Such self-mutilation was never seen before in any disease. It only occurs in Higurashi syndrome. Also, since that symptom was only seen with terminal stage patients, I believe that's a means of exodus, something we've seen before in several parasites. Parasites mature inside of an organism, reproduce, then leave the host and look for the new one. Next one. So what do you think about the fact that the cases were only seen in the soldiers in Hinamizawa, even though the other soldiers touched their blood, which must have been full of parasitic eggs or larvae? Don't you think there was a possibility of them getting infected? I suspected things like an incubation period, but since it was limited to the people in Hinamizawa region, I believe something such as unique local climate must play a role. I'll talk about that in the next part, but the ancient indigenous beliefs of Hinamizawa have... That can't be possible, Dr. Kano. I never heard of parasites behaving socially. Yes, well, that is one of the revolutionary discoveries of the Hinamizawa syndrome. The elderly gentlemen mumbled to each other over while pointing at the data. With that, I finally realized things aren't going too well. Dr. Takano, I've been reviewing your data while listening to your gracious presentation. First of all, it is simply impossible for parasites to control human minds. Human thoughts are controlled by the brain, which is a work of art created by God. Furthermore, ideology is an extremely advanced aspect of the human thought. It's an advanced capability bestowed only to humans on this planet, yet you would say parasites intervene in that? Please, that's absurd. I agree. Ideology can be considered a manner of thought that prioritizes the whole over the individual. In other words, that's the most important prerequisite condition for a society. There's no way parasites would be gifted with that, when their only demand is to pass on their genes. In the field of biology, there has never once been a discovery of sociality or eusociality within parasites. But there are cases of parasites that interfere with the host's behavior. You're misunderstanding one thing, Dr. Takano. The principle that drives parasites capable of controlling their hosts is always reproduction and propagation. It's only that primitive concept. Even in the example used before of a rat infected with toxoplasma gondolier losing its aversion to cats. The altered behavior is simply a means to let their host be eaten by a better host, in order to change hosts. That's just like the grasshopper infected with a horsehair worm drowning itself. Once a horsehair worm matures, it becomes aquatic. When that happens, it guides a grasshopper to the water and drowns it, then enters the environment it's adapted for. Exactly. The suicidal act of clawing out one's own throat corresponds to that in the case of Higurashi syndrome. For example, guinea worms escaped the body by having the host scratch the affected area. Indeed, the purpose of all the parasites is reproduction. For them to infest the brain, God's masterpiece, infecting the brain itself isn't that strange. But to say that the infest influence the human ideology is frankly delusional. In fact, that's a dangerous idea. I don't think it's that strange that Hinamizawa, an isolated culture, developed its own unique faith. There are actually many examples of that all over Japan. So are you saying all of them were due to parasites? Or that they were all due to cultural reasons except the one in Hinamizawa, which was caused by parasites? How do you establish the distinction? Well, as I said in my autopsies on Hinamizawa soldiers who died in the war, there was sufficient evidence to believe. Excuse me, Dr. Takano, I don't think you've gathered enough case studies to call it clinical data. Furthermore, as you said, it was during the war. No, I mean, as I explain in the next part, Hinamizawa syndrome develops when one experiences suspicion, nervousness, and stress, and becomes emotionally unbalanced. I think it's a unique approach to suspect some manner of commonality if there were several cases of unique and bizarre self-mutilation, such as clawing out one's throat, yet there's all the more reason it's unreliable. Maybe it was just coincidence that such rare cases happened under the abnormal circumstances like the war. I believe you witnessed the convergence of coincidences, and trapped in a gestalist view, deluded yourself into finding a pattern. To prove otherwise, you would need an enormous amount of clinical data on Hinamizawa syndrome patients, but ethically that's impossible to prove. The natives' act of recognizing it as a curse suggests it's more within the realm of culture-bound syndromes. And you think that is a delusional parasitic disease? I hate to say this, but I think you admire the beliefs of the Hinamizawans a little too much, and as a result, you yourself have been taken in by their culture-bound reactive syndrome. Actually, that happens quite often with people who research more unusual fields of study. We're trying to be careful ourselves. Ha 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 ha! The more they talk, the paler my grandfather's face becomes. I was just stunned myself. We've never heard of parasites like that. That's impossible. It was just a coincidence, and there is enough data. The talk goes on and on. Every time my grandfather says something, they dismiss it like that. Before he knew it, my grandfather could only hold his silence before their criticisms. Well, no revolutionary discovery is accepted at first. Maybe this research of yours is one of those things. Even if it's ridiculed at first, it may achieve recognition in later years. That happens all the time. I'm just an amateur. I'm just a private researcher who didn't graduate from an elite college, nor do I belong to any academic clique. I don't have any connections with experts or research centers. That's why this is all I can do. Is the Hinamizawa syndrome real, or is it just my delusion, just like you all say it is? To find out, I need your help. Of course, if this was the discovery of the century, it would create a major uproar. After all, you're suggesting that the human culture and ideology is all the will of parasites, and our frontal lobe is a place for them to live. Ha ha ha! What an audacious theory. If a link between the existence of the Hinamizawa syndrome and the disease carrier's belief in Oyashiro-sama could be established, then it would be possible to explain all religions, no, all cultural divisions on Earth. What a magnificent and unique idea. Dr. Takano, instead of showing people like us your essays in secret, you should publish a book about it for the general public. Grandfather's looks at the ground, his fists trembling a little, but their words were far too cruel. I don't know anything about academics. I'm just a little girl. I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but grandfather worked so hard by himself until today. But to prove his research and delve further into it, he needs sponsors. Yet those sponsors are casting away, calling his research a delusion. That's outrageous, like asking which came first, the chicken or the egg. Besides, if his research was at the level those cheeky men want to see, he wouldn't need their help. But they're saying that they can't help him unless they see some results that are beyond the level of private research. And any field doesn't research always start out with just a little idea? If you can prove its existence beforehand, then what's the point of researching it to begin with? If a wild idea can't be the subject of research, how did we gain any knowledge of it at all? But never mind that. When Mr. Koizumi came 2 weeks ago, didn't he say they were really interested in his research? What's going on? This is the complete opposite of what he said. Yes. I think this is very interesting research. The human brain still holds many mysteries. Dr. Takano's idea is an extremely unique one. It seems impossible to ignore, especially from a eugenics perspective. Humans are not God's children. We're simply animals who underwent the baptism of evolution. As such, according to Darwin, there will be differences in that evolution based on environment. In other words, humans can be either superior or inferior. As a nation, we must think how we can maintain good bloodlines and how we can leave good genes behind. If we do not raise that as a national policy and research towards it, then by the next century, mankind may fall to a fatal position on the hierarchy. Dr. Takano's research has the potential of encompassing more than just parasitic diseases. If the evil inferior humans we shouldn't let breed can actually be explained by a disease instead of genetics, then it becomes possible to correct their behavior through surgery. As a result, we can leave wonderful people for our future. From the eugenic point of view, Dr. Takano's research should get started immediately. It's possible this could be the greatest discovery since Moniz's invention of the lobotomy. If causality between infectious diseases and an individual's nature could be established, this would be more Nobel Prize worthy. Koizumi-sensei, thank you for giving us this chance. Takano-kun is a single-minded and passionate man, but he is not good at dealing with people. He's been working on his research all by himself, but now he's hit the limit of what one person can do, and he needs help. Please, everyone, listen to what Takano-kun has to say. Oh, you don't even need to ask, Sensei. We are the ones who should be thanking you for this opportunity. We're already willing to help him. In fact, the more urgent matter will be arranging jurisdictions within society. I would like to thank you for giving me an opportunity to be involved in such a unique research project at this age. There was a knock on the door. The sliding door opened and the owner peeked in. Excuse me, there's someone asking for you. May I bring him in? Someone? Who could it be? The owner whispered into Koizumi's ear, and his face turned pale all of a sudden. But please let him in. No, I'll come greet him with you. As Koizumi stood up, 2 pairs of footsteps reached the door. So, Sensei, I didn't expect you to be here. Koizumi-kun, long time no see. I have something I need to tell you today. Yes, if you need to tell me something, I'm all ears. Please, go ahead. The old man known as Koizumi was not someone whose status could be taken lightly. Although he had retired, he was still powerful enough to wield great influence as a fixer. So, from his meek attitude, it was easy to figure out what kind of person this man must be. The old man held on to his bodyguard's shoulder as he walked. He had an expensive-looking cane in his other hand. He couldn't even walk on his own because of his old age, but his intense, commanding presence hadn't declined one bit. I'll get straight to the point. Your friend's research. You need to put a stop to that. Huh? What do you mean, Koizumi-kun? He must take his knowledge of Hinamizawa syndrome to his grave. Nobody should touch it. If anyone looks into it, well, if you poke a bush, a snake will come out. A big fat snake, too. It would pain me to just watch you get swallowed by it. That's why I'm here to give you some advice. Can your friends wait for a little? So how about it? Do you want to have some drinks with me in a different room? Yes, I'll come with you straight away. Koizumi realized that he was being pressured. He didn't know which direction it was coming from, but clearly some authorities weren't comfortable with the research of Hinamizawa syndrome, and were trying to stop him from supporting it. Koizumi-kun, do you remember the Marco Polo Bridge incident? This is utter nonsense. We came here today expecting to hear a more objective side. Normally we wouldn't come all the way here for something like this, but since Koizumi-sensei asked us, we didn't have a choice. This really was a waste of time, but in a way it was a good thing we came. We were able to give you some advice. You should take up bonsai instead of wasting the rest of your life on this. Bonsais are great. I agree. It's not healthy to just stare at formalin jars in a study. But it sure is a unique subject. If you want, I'll introduce you to the chief of a publishing company. The general public loves things like this, you know? They aren't even trying to hide their hostility. They're laughing at my grandfather, denouncing him and saying things to denigrate not only his research, but his personality as well. If they are simply trying to provoke him, any response would just be giving them what they want. Even in this very moment, grandfather tried to remain a noble researcher and a proud human being. He's no longer trembling. On the contrary, he apologized to them for taking up their time, and told them he had no intention of keeping them any longer. We'll give this article back to you. Though it'd be so much easier if we could actually call it an article, one of the elderly gentlemen tossed it back to him. Grandfather couldn't catch it in time. The article he worked so hard fell on the ground and the paper scattered all over the carpet. The elderly gentleman left the study without even apologizing for it. Everyone else followed suit. As they left, they trod all over my grandfather's article. It looked like grandfather's expression didn't change, but I could see it warping. I could see the wall of research grandfather bore crunching and warping sadly. I jumped. I grabbed onto the elderly gentleman's leg. I don't hate him. If I were asked if I hated him or not, the answer would be yes, but that's not the point here. What I really can't stand is this foot stepping all over my grandfather's article. Don't step on it. Don't step on it. Grandpa worked so hard on it. Don't step on it. I just want to move the foot that's standing on his papers, but the foot doesn't move no matter how hard I push or pull, as if it's rooted to the floor. I felt someone grabbing me from behind. It was my grandfather. Please excuse my granddaughter. Don't worry about this. We'll clean it up. Don't step on them. I'm telling you not to step on my grandpa's article. My screams don't mean a thing to them. They completely ignored my screams. They continued to step on the papers and left the study. Only my grandfather and I remained in there now. My grandfather is still grabbing the back of my collar. I don't have any words left to say, only cries. My grandfather's determined not to show any emotion. He doesn't even open his mouth, so I have to cry for him. Just then my grandfather slapped me in the face. That startled me. I'm crying for him, so why did he slap me? Then I understand. Grandfather is the one who wants to cry, but he's enduring, so I shouldn't cry either. I wipe my eyes and my runny nose. Then I silently turn my eyes to the papers on the carpet just like my grandfather. Sorry, Mio. I don't understand why he's apologizing. I thought he was going to complain about their rudeness. If I had worked harder, this wouldn't have happened. Until today, you helped me so much, and it was all for nothing. Sorry about that. How courageous he is. Even after that disaster, he's still concerned about me. I shook my head and put my hands on the floor. I tried to gather up the papers, but then they began to fall, my tears overflowing, blurring the ink on the papers. These are all handwritten by grandfather. He was so happy that finally there was someone who understood his research. He was so happy. He spent all night writing these, but they stepped on them. They might as well have stepped on my grandfather's very soul. I didn't work hard enough. If I had done more, this wouldn't have happened. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll work even harder. I won't give up because of something like this. I don't know if he's saying that to me or to himself. Don't worry, God is watching. I have to believe. That I'll gain recognition. That day will come. That's why I have to keep working harder. Grandfather says that all the time, but I know the truth. God only plays with people's fate. He doesn't save anyone out of goodwill. That's why he let this happen to my grandfather, even though he's worked so hard and so humbly until today. That's why he let such a horrible thing happen to me when I was still an innocent little girl. Grandfather keeps repeating himself, but I know the truth. God exists. The existence Grandfather believes in is real. But there is no mercy to be found in God. He delivers unreasonable fates and makes us call it a challenge. I can't tell my grandfather that, of course. I asked God once more, like I did on the day of the thunderstorm. Why? Why can't you give my grandfather's effort and hard work the recognition it deserves? Grandfather told me that he'll gather up the papers, so I should put away the teacups. I nodded silently and put the teacups that hadn't even been touched onto the serving cart. As I pushed it out of the study, Grandfather told me. He told me to close the door after I leave. I always close the door when I leave. He doesn't need to remind me, but that's what he wants, so without saying anything, I closed the door. Then as I walked away from the study, I heard my grandfather sobbing. Tears filled my eyes once more. Sadness and disappointment. I almost feel angry with myself for not being able to do anything for him. Then I felt a cool breeze on my wet cheeks. The breeze was blowing in from a cracked open window. The curtain was flapping gently in that breeze. I heard the cry of the Higurashi. As I listened to them, I calmed down gradually. If I can ease Grandfather's pain by crying, I'll cry in his place. But that won't help. On the contrary, he started to cry because I did. I'm being useless here. I remember that day. I remember the reason why I'm alive now. If he hadn't come and saved me, I would have spent the last days of my life lying in the corner of the bathroom as a human-shaped piece of meat. Grandfather saved me. He gave me back my rights. The right to walk, the right to stand up, the right to wear clothes, the right to eat, the right to speak, and the right to think. In other words, the right to live as a human being. Grandfather took action. Right after he got the phone call from me, he found my house and he found out which orphanage I was sent to. After struggling through the sloppily filed reports to the public office, then he saved me. Of course, he was working on his research then. He spent his precious research time on saving me, a perfect stranger. I vowed that if his heart failed, I'd rip my heart out and give it to him. But of course, his heart is fine. So he doesn't need a heart. He needs something else that's equally important. That's something only I can give him in this whole world. I clenched my fists and held them so tightly that my nails left marks. I now know what I'm supposed to do with this new life as Mio Takano. I finally know. I know the reason why the new me was born. I know the purpose of Mio Takano. To fulfill a wish and weave a desired future. The strength of a string is how strong your will is. A noble and strong wish will come true. I thought I knew of my grandfather's greatness, but I actually didn't know the half of it. For me to be able to really help him, I have to reach this level. All my lessons lead back to my grandfather. There wasn't a single subject I could ignore. Right now, studying hard is what I can do for him. I've been a teacher for a long time, but I've never seen such a hard-working student. You've learned not only academically, but socially as well. You've made a great deal of friends. I have a goal which I can only reach by studying hard. Also, I know how powerless an isolated genius is. That's why I needed to learn to socialize. That's not enough. I'm not even close to where I want to be. Entering college is only a step forward. What matters is what I learned there. I'm not even close. I'm not even close to being able to help my grandfather. I'm so proud of you. You can go to Tokyo or Achan Omizu University or any college of your choice. Nothing will stop you. The most important thing for you is that the school will teach you what you want to learn. A big decision that inhabits a tiny skull. If my life is heavier than the earth, then my decision is heavier than the earth. Do I have what I need to be able to truly understand Hinamizawa syndrome and help grandfather in his research? I don't need compromises or excuses. The heights I seek are lofty and precipitous. This isn't enough, not even close. My classmates are such idiots, acting as if they're winners in life just because they entered this school. A college is simply a place to learn what I need to know. If this self-proclaimed best school isn't worth my time, I'm not interested. I didn't expect a talented woman like you to end up in a parasite research center. I'm sure everyone wanted you, huh? I assumed you were interested in something bigger. I want to study and research parasites. I worked hard to earn the right to study here. Aren't I qualified to learn? Yes, of course. There's no reason why we would refuse someone who got the top score in the entrance exam. Welcome to the Parasite Research Center. People usually aren't that interested in our field. There aren't too many researchers who study it. That's why there's still a lot of unknown elements compared to the other fields. That's quite true. The study of parasites is a mysterious world, or rather, it's an ignorant one. An ignorant world where the preconception that parasites can't possibly control humans pervade. And those ignorant people laughed at grandfather and stepped all over his article. There are still many unsolved mysteries in the world of parasites. I'm here to solve them. I came here to help the people who want to solve them. A wish that's guaranteed to come true is not called a wish. That is fate, not a wish. I weave fate. Fate is an absolute power to control people in the world, not just an individual. Learning isn't enough for me. I have to be able to research with my grandfather, and so I don't ignore the means to gain that help my grandfather couldn't get. Grandfather's research isn't complete just when it's finished being written on a desk. I need the help of plenty of people to present it to the world, so his great work will be praised by many. Yes, that's correct. This is an association only the top graduates of the Imperial University are allowed to join. Therefore, as only 7 people per year are allowed to join, it's a small group compared to a normal organization of alumni. However, its solidarity is unrivaled. Thank you for inviting me to such a gathering. I'm honored. I would like to take the lowest seat. Oh no, we can't let someone with such accomplishments and experience sit in the lowest seat. I'm sure everyone will welcome you. The cabinet, minister, and several important government officials, company presidents, and company advisors will be here. They'll all need you, and they'll provide the help you need. Koizumi-sensei belongs to this association, right? He was my grandfather's best friend. What a coincidence. I see. I'm sure Koizumi-sensei will be glad to find out that you'll be joining. An isolated genius is a useless one. People live in a society. Society is made up of connections between people. Nobody can ignore that. I do my best as an individual, but to gain the power that can't be achieved as a mere individual, I have to rely on my connections in society. It's all for one purpose. My only wish is Mio Takano. Yes, I can't spare any effort. My absolute conviction will forge a guaranteed future. Nobody can interfere. Nobody can stop me. I won't allow the die to roll a 1. I won't admit that diligent efforts can be erased by a mere train accident. I'm going to make all the dice roll 6s. I won't entrust the die to God. I won't give in to luck. The only people who pray to God are people who don't want to work hard. I don't trust God. I'm going to create results myself. My strong will is going to create an absolute future that God can't possibly prevent. This is a different way to become a god than the one my grandfather taught me. This is a way to become a god while still alive. When I realized it, I became truly free. Free from the sadness of losing my parents and the miserable life after that. Free from grandfather's tears when his article was stepped on. That's right, I'll be above God. I'll be an existence that God's caprices? Can't even touch. I'll make people recognize grandfather's research. That's the future I wish for. I actually don't remember what that word means, by the way. The future I promised will come to pass. People will fight over grandfather's article. People will respectfully read the same article that was once ridiculed and stepped on. Even if grandfather dies before that day comes, I won't cry over something like that, because he already taught me. Even after being buried, one can be resurrected. I'm going to complete his great work, and the whole world will praise him. Grandfather will resurrect and become a god. He will be eternal. That's an everlasting bond. A bond not even a train accident can break. A bond not even a die that rolls a 1 can disturb. Since the day of the train accident, my die has kept rolling 1s, over and over. But I didn't give up. I kept working hard until today. I'll rise above the die. I'll decide what to roll on it. I'll decide my own fate. I'll do that with my unshakable willpower. When does the clinic open? Is there going to be air conditioning? I heard it'll be open next month. I hope there will be a young doctor there. Yeah. I heard some old ladies talking amongst themselves when I was going up the stairs to the shrine. The Erie Clinic is already completed and it's waiting and ready for the opening day. The state-of-the-art equipment has been delivered and the research is waiting to begin as well. Erie, too, is standing by in top form, and he's almost as passionate as I am about Hinamizawa syndrome. The Mountain Dogs, the counterintelligence unit, to support and protect our research, are already stationed at a dummy company somewhere near Okonomiya. They are getting in touch with various public institutions. Everything is going well. The only thing to worry about would be the rumors about the Hinamizawa Dam construction plans. There's a rumor that the Ministry of Construction is pushing through a dam project that will submerge all of Hinamizawa, but they're under pressure from several groups. None of my contacts have much influence in the Ministry of Construction, so things aren't going well. Even if applying pressure doesn't work, there are other measures, so either way it'll come to a deadlock. I'm not being optimistic, I just know that's how it'll end. I will conduct research here in Hinamizawa. I'm going to accomplish that with my absolute will. That's why even if God rolls a 1 on the die and says that he's going to submerge Hinamizawa, I will not be afraid. I won't entrust my die to God. I'm the one who's going to pick up the die and I'm going to roll a 6. I didn't come to this shrine to declare war on the god of this place. I came because I know that you can get a great view from up here. I walked by the shrine and headed to the spot I found last time I visited. It's the perfect spot for overlooking the entire village. The strong wind reminds me that I'm only at the starting line, and that there will be a headwind before I reach my goal. I looked over the village without faltering in the wind. Grandfather approached the syndrome from a medical point of view, but he also approached it from a folkloric one as well. The strange belief system in this village is proof that the existence of the Hinamizawa syndrome was already known of even in ancient times, so it'll be extremely useful to research their history too. My grandfather hadn't been doing research for hundreds of years, of course, but this place has been here for hundreds of years, and they've been living with the Hinamizawa syndrome for that long. Therefore, the beliefs created in this place and the legend itself can be considered the foremost researches. It's simply stupid to just call them old folktales or nonsense. I've been researching them slowly, but they are indeed very interesting. No wonder Grandfather was intrigued by them. Hinamizawa syndrome has many fascinating sides to it. It's just like a kaleidoscope, showing infinite light with ever a slight change in angle. It's so much fun to trace Grandfather's research. Finding the same results as my grandfather reminds me that I am indeed following in his footsteps, which makes me very happy. This shrine is dedicated to Oyoshiro-sama, the guardian deity of the village. But this god the villagers worship is simply a delusion that was created by the parasites. When I solve their secret and announce it to the world, the god of this place will be no more. That's the moment I will take revenge on the one who put me through misery and tested my faith. That's it, isn't it? This isn't just about making my grandfather's dreams come true. It is also about getting revenge for my miserable life. I went back to the front of the shrine. There's an offertory box there, and I'm tempted to throw in some coins. But you normally offer coins to ask for mercy. I don't entrust my fate to God, so I don't need to give an offering. I'm going to unmask him. But until then, Oyoshiro-sama is a god. Okay, in that sense, I'll show respect for now. Hee hee hee. As a declaration of war, I pulled out a 10-yen coin from my wallet. The 10-yen coin I found in the telephone booth changed my life. If it hadn't been there, my life would have ended then. I'm grateful at least for that 10-yen coin. I'm not grateful to the god of this shrine, though. But I haven't forgiven you yet. I never expected anything from you, and I am here because of my own hard work. Even if you keep playing tricks of fate or keep rolling a 1 on the die, that won't bother me. With my strong will, I'm going to get what I want. My grandfather will be praised and become a god because of the research I'll do in this place. I will defeat the god of this village and become an existence above even gods. Since when did I care about God, huh? Maybe because my grandfather often talked about him. Hee hee hee. Here. This is the 10-yen coin you gave me before. My debt's paid off now. You just keep clinging to your throne and tormenting people with your trials, while I fight my battles to knock you down from there. And so, I chucked the 10-yen coin I once borrowed from God into the offertory box. Eh? For a moment, I couldn't understand what happened. The 10-yen coin was supposed to fall into the offering box, but how can I explain this? That's not what happened. I aimed correctly for certain. Who could miss an offertory box anyway? That's not it. Because the 10-yen coin stopped in midair, as if it got stuck in a spider web. Then it bounced back to me and fell by my feet. It was as though the offertory box had refused the coin. Of course, an offertory box is to respect God, but what I did was challenge him. That means I jumped because I thought I was the only one here. Anyone would jump when finding there's someone else standing there unexpectedly. How long has she been there? It's like she came out from the shrine. A mysterious girl is standing on the other side of the offering box. She's wearing a shrine maiden uniform, so she must be one of the caretakers here. That's what I thought too, but there's something else about her. She's not just one of the shrine caretakers. She is the shrine itself, because the girl is staring into my eyes. No, she's glaring. I smiled back fearlessly. I think she heard my words of challenge to God. She's wearing that expression on her face because of that. The words came out naturally. You are the god of this place, aren't you? The girl didn't nod, but I took that as a yes. What a contradictory feeling. I'm rejecting the god of this land, denying its very existence, yet I don't doubt this girl is that god. The girl opened her mouth to speak. A strong will reinforces fate. That's right. That's what I say to myself often. I've never said that to anyone or quoted it from anything. So under normal circumstances, I should be surprised to hear this girl say that. But this girl isn't human, so I'm not surprised. I replied her, God throws the die of fate and has fun with people depending on what he gets. But people have willpower. The stronger the willpower, the less chance of being bound by the results of the die. You see? People can gain a power that's strong enough to fight fate by working to their limits. Yes. I understand that very well. An unshakable conviction defeats the die of fate. That's right. That is mankind's revenge against the gods who toy with them by dice roll. The hymn of those who slog through the gods' interference and forge their own destiny. Know my divinity, and that I earned this day through efforts after enduring all misfortune. He he he. Spiteful laughter flowed out of my mouth, but the girl's face displayed a strong will of her own. Her expression didn't even change a bit. I understand very well. No matter how many times we repeat, our fate doesn't change. That was all because of your strong willpower. That's right. A strong will reinforces fate. That fate, so empowered, isn't bothered by the result of a die. That means it's an absolute future. You, a human, found that truth before us gods, who have been living for hundreds of years. I admit it. Your existence is close to that of a god. I'm honored. Hee hee. The girl glared at me with her eyes half shut. No, it was more like she was proclaiming something to me while displaying her own strong willpower. I won't be defeated this time. We always thought we couldn't win against you. That was why I surrendered. I abandoned hope and crawled around the wheel of life. But then I learned. The power of belief can cause a miracle that forges your destiny. Are you saying you'll cause a miracle using your strong will that will defeat the destiny woven by mine? Hehe, that's logical enough, because that's the law of this world. A strong will can make a desired future possible. We won't be defeated by your will. That's fine. So you insist on being an old god. Try it. And see if your willpower can defeat mine. God tests people, yet people aren't allowed to test God. So I'm going to test you here. See if your willpower can defeat mine. Go on. Come on. Try it. That's clearly a declaration of war from me to God. This is the beginning of my revenge towards God, who put me through so much misery. And this girl, this god, is accepting my challenge directly. I'm not as powerful as you are. I can't do as many things as you can. Even if my willpower is as strong as yours, you're still more powerful than I am. That's right. I've gained an overwhelming power. You have absolutely no idea what I had to go through to gain it. You can't even touch me, I know. I know how powerful you are. Compared to yours, the power my friends and I command is insignificant. But I can choose not to give up. I won't admit my loss. I won't give up until the day when your die rolls 1 and my die rolls 6. I'll prove the strength of my willpower by not surrendering to you for eternity. Stacking up stones on the riverbed will allow us to cross the river and appear before you as an equal. And that's when this long battle of fate will come to an end. For some reason, I'm thinking about Soul Calibur 2. Also, a lot of the girls in that game have really big, giant titties. So now I'm thinking about that. Fine, come on then. We'll see who has the stronger will. Whoever has the stronger conviction will create the future. The future desired by the strong conviction will come to pass. I will hold my ground. In my future, my grandfather's great work is praised, and he becomes a god, and I will take revenge on God for testing me by making me go through such misery. Stupid little god, I'll show you. I'll drag you down from your pedestal. Chapter 8, Matsuribayashi, the final chapter of Higurashi. I've already done Higurashi Rei and Higurashi Ho, which were technically made after this as sort of after stories to flush out a little bit more of the lore. But this is the definitive end. Unless the creator of the series ever makes another Higurashi game in 2025 onward. And if he does, that'd be nice. Then again, I have high expectations for it, if he were to. And honestly, I'm not sure if it's even possible for him to write a story challenging God. Finish the prologue. That being said, I'm not sure it's even possible for the author of this story to make a new addition to it in 2025 onward that would live up to my expectations. I don't know if that should be taken as flattery by the author of this story, that if he ever were to write an additional thing in 2025 onward for Higurashi, that I would have extremely high expectations. Well, until next time, guys, I hope everyone has a good day. I suppose I never did do the intro for the video. Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. I promise nothing, and I guarantee even less. And the only thing consistent about this channel is a complete and total lack of professionalism. I'm just some random crazy guy talking to himself on the internet. If you feel like hanging out with me and joining me through these stories and these Let's Plays, I welcome your company. And I wish you, well, have a good day. And have all the hugs and head pats you could ever want or need. So, until the next video, take care. And even though I'm a bit of a tsundere, I'll say this very clear. I appreciate you for watching this video. Thank you, and bye.